I'm Graham Champion. I am the legislative liaison for NAMI, Alabama, and it's my pleasure to be here this morning. We've got the two folks that really control the flow of everything that happens in the Alabama legislature with us today, and they're going to make a few remarks. First, Senator Del Marsh, Republican state senator who represents Senate District 12, consisting of all of Calhoun County and a portion of Talladega and Clay County. A graduate of Auburn University, he was first elected to the Senate in 1998. He was elected as President Pro Tem of the Senate in 2010 and then again in 2014. He's currently serving as a presiding officer in the Senate after Lieutenant Governor Kay Ivey moved up to the governor's office. Successful businessman, past owner of industrial plating company and aerospace coatings. He and his wife Ginger are graduates of Auburn University. Senator Marsh.
Thank you, Graham. Pleasure to be here with you today. The speaker and I made sure we got out early today so we could be here. I just want you to know that. We're off to a good start in the session. Just happened to get a glimpse of the governor's budget that came over both the Education Trust Fund, General Fund. I'm happy to say that you'll see very healthy increases for mental health in both those budgets. And the speaker and I can assure you will work to make sure we keep them there. We've got a lot of issues in the state. When you talk about mental health, right immediately I think about the prison, the recent federal judge ruling, and we're having to address that in the budget. There's going to be significant dollars in there to address that issue at the prisons, as should be. I just want to be here today to tell you that we appreciate what you do. You know, it's tough in state government, especially the last several years. It's been tight in both budgets at the state, and we've done the best we could do, try to be fiscally responsible and do what we could do to entities such as yourselves that are so vital and necessary for the state. So we're glad through those programs that we've implemented. The economy's doing really well now. Unemployment's down to below 3.7%. We're not stopping. We're going to continue to create a strong working environment. And the announcement of the Mazda plant yesterday, all these things mean stronger stability in jobs and higher paying jobs, which bring more revenue to the state, which in turn makes it to where we make more revenue available to mental health and other areas. So the right things are happening. The fruits of our labor, I think, are finally showing up. So we're excited about that. But I just want to tell you I was glad to bring some good news today and on the budget situation and just tell you that I appreciate everything you do. I'm going to let the speaker come up and make a few comments, and if we need to stick around for a few questions, I'm more than happy to do so. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Speaker of the House is Representative Mac McCutcheon. The Speaker lives in Monrovia up in Madison County. He is a former officer with the Huntsville Police Department, having served in the police academy as a hostage negotiator, a trait that I think works well with some of the things he has to do with the legislature. But he was first elected to the House in 2005 and elected as Speaker in 2016. Speaker McCutcheon has been a friend that we could go to in the past when we've needed help. I know he's been a friend to the mental health community. Mr. Speaker, we look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you so much, and let me say what a privilege it is to be able to come and speak with you. I have a lot of respect for NAMI and the work that you do throughout our state. I think because of my law enforcement career, it helped me see some things and experience some things of our mental health programs and what they're doing for our people out there, and I have a high regard of respect for you and your work in this area. I want to ditto everything the Pro Tem has said. It's a joy to work with him as we work together in both respective houses, and we are very excited about the budgets, and especially with agencies like mental health and some of the issues that you've had to face over the years with the cuts and the reorganization things that have been going on. I know it's been difficult for you. And because of that, I'm just glad to see us having an increase there for you. And I want to say that my support is with you as that budget moves through the House, that we will support that appropriation for you. And we're also thankful for the governor. This year we had the opportunity to sit down with the governor and go over the budgets from the executive branch before they were sent over to the legislative branch. And that was so refreshing, because many times we get a budget from the executive branch and it was already put together, and then here we have a budget that we have to deal with. So this year we're actually working off of the same sheet of music, if you will, which is really refreshing, and I think it promotes good government. Let me say that I just wanted to touch on a few things concerning mental health. I think that the mental health issues that we're going to be addressing for the correction system, I think will be a plus for the overall mental health organization statewide. I'm thinking that as we move forward and the corrections department begins to put people in place to provide mental health care for our inmates, I think that that will be a springboard for the state mental health association to move forward and work together in a team effort, which I think will bring to light some of the issues that we have with inmates being released back into the communities, as well as proper care being given to inmates, and which will also complement you in what you're trying to do in the community setting. So we're looking forward to that, and I'll just tell you from my perspective, as we move through that debate and we look at the appropriations that are going to be asked of us, that's one thing I'm going to be looking at. And I'm really going to be depending on you, the Commissioner, Commissioner Beshears. We're going to be looking to see how does this complement what you're trying to do in the community, and to make sure that we're all working together in a group effort, and we're not working against each other. So as we move forward, you'll have my support in that effort. Another thing that I wanted to just mention to you is that there's also a bill that's in the House. It's House Bill number 5. We're looking at that bill right now, and it's going to open up a door for contributions being made to mental health organizations, and some tax deduction being given for that, which may help people that want to contribute from a local level as well as a regional level, to try to help some of our mental health facilities, that they can contribute and get some kind of deduction. Not sure where that bill will go, but just wanted to put it on your radar so you could look at it and see if that might be something that would be useful. Several years ago, I worked in major crimes. I came up through Uniform Patrol, then went to Police Academy, was a training officer at the Academy, training police officers. Then went into major crimes investigation, and then from there finished out my law enforcement career as a probation officer with the City of Huntsville Municipal Court. And it was through that work there, from the street and then into the court system, that we began to work trying to put together with our judges a mental health court. And actually, I did an analysis. I went back and I looked at the cost analysis, because I thought, you know, if I could really get the attention of people from their purse perspective, a checkbook perspective, then I could, you know, get them to lend me an ear of the dilemma that we were facing. And I went back and looked at the cost from a call out of an officer to having to deal with a person who had mental health issues, then bringing that person into the jail, and then from the jail to the courtroom, and then the sentencing phase, and all the way through, and then the release. And as we began to look at that, I began to get people's attention in the court of how significant this was, not only from a cost savings, but then we began to shift their thoughts into the person themselves, and how important that it would be that if we could treat and help some of these mental health patients before they got to the point of the sentencing phase, how significant that may be for them and their families and the caregivers. And so by looking at that, I've always had a heart for mental health court. And working right now with some of our judges up in Madison County, and we are looking from a statewide perspective, not trying to be too territorial, because I don't want other legislators to get mad at me or anything, but we're looking at it from a state perspective of seeing if we could begin to really do some serious work dealing with some pilot programs on dealing with mental health patients in the courtroom, such as being able to get them on their medications, and how do we ensure that they stay on their medications. And, is this a place that we want to send somebody to the corrections and put them in jail over these offenses, or is there an alternative of treatment that we can keep them out of our jail facilities because of the cost factor and because of the trauma that they experience, and put them back into the community? So this is one thing that you have my support on, and I'm very active in this. And I would also like to close with this. I noticed in your program that you've got a presentation this afternoon at 3 about housing community care concept. I've been talking with several groups around the state about the community health care program. I would like to get with Commissioner and talk and speak with her about the bureaucracy that's tied to trying to get these community-based homes up and running and keep them running and get permission so that they can take care of these patients that they're in. As you know, over the years, because of the budget cuts, we've had to cut some things, and we're in a position where if we're going to try to make this community health care program work, then we need to try to make sure that we streamline it as much as possible so that it could happen. So these are some things that we're looking at. I want to again say thank you for what you're doing, and Graham, thank you so much for the invite. Appreciate it.
Mr. Speaker, you've said many, many times, and the gentleman's time has expired. So we thank you all for being here. We thank you for what you do. Jimmy, do we have time for him to take one or two questions?
One or two, and then we've got to get
Okay.
the commissioner.
Do we have any questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting mental health. I just want to know, are you able to say how big the check is going to be for mental health?
Combined, about $13 million over what it was last year. Approximately $10 million in the general fund and $3 million in the education trust fund.
Okay, thank you very much. And one last question, please. I'm glad that we're operating at a surplus as opposed to a deficit. Are you able to say just what the dollar amount of the surplus is that we have here in the state of Alabama, and what are the 3 largest sources of revenue for the state of Alabama, please? Thank you.
Don't have the numbers at hand right now, but I'm sure I'm sure they'll be discussed in the next few days.
I could get some staff and get that back over here for you.
If you'll do that.
I'll try to do that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll try to have it before you leave today.
I've got it in front. I have to have it in front of me.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us.